Political and military history, and for which I invite Dr. Rima Hooja. Can we have a round of applause for our speakers? Thank you. Dr. Rima Hooja is a respected historian and author with extensive scholarship on Rajput and Mughal history. Her work begins academic rigor along with narrative clarity to historical figures. Dr. Hooja will be in conversation with Mr. Raghav Chandra, a seasoned moderator known for curating thoughtful cultural conversations, himself an author of acclaimed novels, Scent of a Game and Kali's Daughter. I would request our speakers to begin the session, and we have a presentation, and I request if this can be uploaded.
Let the cover of the book come. Okay, there we are. So delighted to launch a conversation about Rima Hoojaji's book, The Emperor's General, The Life and Times of Raja Man Singh of Amber. As most of us are aware, Man Singh is a very, very common name. There has been a Raja Man Singh of Gwalior, who laid the foundation for the Gwalior kingdom, the Gwalior Empire. But there was an even more famous Raja Man Singh in the 16th century Mughal India, when the Mughal Empire reached the zenith of its glamour, its ability to manage things. And at the height of Akbar's reign, one Rajput prince who stood out at the center of all the battles and politics was Raja Man Singh of Amber. He was a loyal commander, and Akbar referred to him as his Farzand, or his son. Man Singh bridged two worlds, the proud martial traditions of the Rajputs and the expanding ambitions of the Mughals. From the banks of the Indus to the fields of Haldi Ghati, and he is known for the Battle of Haldi Ghati. And who else is known for the Battle of Haldi Ghati?
Quiz time. Maharana Pratap.
About whom Rima ji has also written a book, and she was here earlier to talk about her book on about that book. From Kabul's mountain passes to Bengal's swamps, Man Singh's career was a relentless sequence of campaigns, alliances, and acts of statesmanship that secured the empire for Akbar, and that is what made him so beloved to Akbar. However, his story is not confined to the battlefield alone. It is also the tale of a builder and a patron of arts who commissioned many famous temples in Vrindavan and Varanasi, and that was Akbar who permitted him to do that, and transformed Amber into a thriving seat of art and architecture. Rima ji has had the position of a curator, of an explorer, who has traveled extensively through Rajasthan. She's the modern Todd of Rajasthan, associated with the royal gharanas, the royal families. She is even currently the curator of the City Palace Museum. So if you ever go to Jaipur, she can, sort of guide you and help you. So her insight into Rajasthan, into the affairs of the princes, of the kings of the various kingdoms of Rajasthan is absolutely immaculate. And at this biography's heart lies Raja Man Singh's complex bond with Emperor Akbar, marked by loyalty, kinship, and political calculation. He was extremely shrewd, and through Man Singh's life we see the larger currents of the age, the alliances and rivalries of Rajput states, the consolidation of the Mughal power, and the cultural synthesis that defined that era. She has drawn on chronicles, bardic traditions, and architectural evidence The Emperor's General is therefore to begin much more than just a biography. It is a portrait of an age, the era of Raja Man Singh and Akbar, told through the life of an indispensable general. It's a definitive narrative that restores Man Singh to his rightful place as a titan of Indian history. And I'm going to hand it over to Rima ji with all her superlative knowledge of Rajasthan, of the Rajputs of Rajasthan, of the kingdoms of Rajasthan, of the wars and battles that were fought on that soil, to talk about Raja Man Singh. Was he a good man? Was he a bad man? Was he evil? Was he treacherous? Or was he benign? Was he an artist? Or was he just portrayed to be an artist? And where did things go wrong? And she can bring in her insights into Prithviraj Chauhan's reign to tell us all about Raja Man Singh, the reign of Akbar, and provide us a deeper glimpse into that beautiful and yet unusual era. Rima ji.
Thank you, Raghav ji. And since I have the mic, my thanks to BLF. We are all part of the BLF family, all of us here, but we are also part of the decision makers. And therefore, I know that it's when I or any of us get to launch a book or to talk about a book, we have got our place here. So thank you for that very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
you. And you've asked the right question. You know, Amreen, I was thinking when you were doing your rapid fire, how do we judge ourselves, assess ourselves in just a few words? And when you asked in all those, was he this or was he that? Let's have the slide back, please, and then go on to the next. Unless there's, nahi, pehla wala slide, sabse pehle wala. So we have a couple of images of Man Singh, but who was he? Was he the young man or whatever age man on the horse there? That's not from the time period. There are no horse images, even though my cover has a horse image. There are no horse images of Man Singh of Amer, mainly because at that time, perhaps the Rajputs, none of them were painted on horses other than the imperial Mughal family, maybe. So we have art historians who can look into it. And then you have somebody leaning on what is actually a teka. You will see an image of it in a few later on. But because they had to stand in court. And our volunteers have been doing a lot of standing. Everybody stood at some point when you're students or younger until you get offered chairs because you're old. But he's leaning over. This hunched back man. There's more to a life than just that. Next, Lilije, please. Next image, or fir uske baad wali. Acha. This is one image we have of Kumar Man Singh, Prince Man Singh. His father is alive, his grandfather is alive, wrestling with Akbar. Wo jo niche dab raha hai, that is Kumar Man Singh. And the one above him is Akbar. But the fact that they are wrestling means ek aad mukka ya ek aad lagta hi hoga. This is contemporary. This is from the Akbarnama. This is now in Ireland. But there must be more to it. Was he just somebody? So let's do a close-up and then another one, please. Next. ये थोड़ा सा आपको जो दिख रहा है वो साफा जिनका खुले जा रहा है, slightly dark. There's a thing about it. So at some point they say, next भी ले लीजिए, that Akbar once teasingly said, they have this strange complex relationship. There's about 10 years of difference age-wise, 8 years of difference. Akbar is older. And Akbar is also the uncle. And Maharana Pratap is slightly older than, so you know, they're kind of contemporaries.
Akbar is whose uncle?
Akbar marries a princess from Amber. Amber is the capital city. The kingdom is Dhundhar. And the clan is the Kachwahas. So the Man Singh of Gwalior is a Tomar. And the state is much larger. Okay. So there are these complex relationships, but at one point, because they're very close, they're almost, you know, the Farzand part is beta. So you say to someone, if an emperor says it, it's not just, "Arey beta, wo pani ka glass pakda do" kinds. No, it has a meaning because you're conveying a meaning in a Mughal, which means mainly Turki, Changezi, multi whatever, but Islamic court. Cosmopolitan, the Padris eventually arrive, lots of people arrive. They have this strange relationship. But anyway, to get back to the story, at one point, Akbar said to him, Ki bhai, you know, everything is there. You're a great warrior. But where did you get your looks from? And he says, you know, when Bhagwan jab khubsurti baant rahe the, I was in the prayer room praying. But when it came to getting manliness and valor and the power to lead with a sword, I was standing in the front row. So that depiction comes through. But now, why do I have Atak? In a long career, what people think of him for is, as you said, he fights with Maharana Pratap at Haldi Ghati, and he was 25 at that time, 24, 25. But that's not the end of his life. He died in 1614. So 1576 is when Haldi Ghati is fought. And he has many, many years in between, not chasing Maharana Pratap, but other things. One of them is to do with, I don't know how well you can see it. We can have, agle do teen aap chala dijiye. I would like to quickly just read something, just to convey what he's all about. And bas, ab aap rok lo phir se. This is the prologue. I'm going to say things that will still make you want to read the book. So I'm not going to summarize the life. The river lay ahead, wide and fast flowing, swollen with the melt waters from the Himalayas. Prince Man Singh allowed the reins to lie loose, while he and his mount surveyed the dark water at their feet. Wapas le lijiye ek baar slide. The angry current stretched from the near bank, foaming towards the distant shore across the Indus. It looked as wide as the sea. There was little choice, however, despite the river being in full spate. The empire was under threat, and that threat had to be repelled. Kuwar, Prince Man Singh, son of the ruler of the Kachwaha kingdom of Dhundar, whose capital was Amber, was a warrior, and a Rajput warrior at that. Haan, isi pe 2 minute rakh lijiye. He also served the Mughal Emperor Akbar and now had to lead the imperial troops massed behind him across the Indus, even though the men hesitated before the wildly frothing waters. The small settlement, already being called Atak Banaras, on the site where the emperor had begun work on a new fortress that would become Atak, or Atok in the early British things, stretched out behind Man Singh. You can see Atak Banaras and the fort. While Kabul and Kandahar lay miles ahead, danger lay there too, along with the ever-real possibility of dying in battle or through accident, murder, or treachery. Man Singh glanced back at the group gathered on the riverbank. Some were from his father's realm, chiefs and nobles in their own right, fief holders of ancestral or newly awarded estates, jagirs or other things, who formed part of his personal forces. Others belonged to various units of the Mughal Imperial Army, now placed under his command. Most of them wore expressions of deep concern. Man Singh gathered up the reins of his horse. He paused for a moment, then loudly declaimed, "Sabe bhumi gopal ki, ya mein atak kahan? Jaake man mein atak hai, so hi atak raha." When the world belongs to God, where is the place to hesitate and be stuck? Atak. Stuck. Let the person with atak, you can read it as hesitation or the fort, let the person with atak in his mind remain atak at atak. Punning on the place name Atak, which in Hindi, Urdu, Rajasthani echoes the word atak, meaning to be stuck or to hesitate, Man Singh challenged all who were wavering at the river crossing to trust in God and in their prowess as warriors. Without a backward glance, he urged his steed confidently into the fast-flowing water. Seeing their commander ford the river, the rest of the army followed his example. That crossing would become part of the legend surrounding the indomitable Man Singh of Amber. So, at this point, this is just a preface to have people who maybe want to know what it's all about, have a flavor of someone who's young, who is going to war because he is a warrior, but it also brings in what is happening in the kingdom. Threat is there. Akbar is the grand emperor, but his own half-brother is threatening him which is why this race for Kabul. And if we take the next couple of images, but then you come in with your question. This is another painting from Akbar's own time of Man Singh. And he is an elderly man leaning on the teka. And then there's another one. This is at the Metropolitan in New York. Ek dusri ek aur hai, wo bhi le lijiye. This is from Amer. And again, here he's got a Qatar. If you just, people who are not really looking at art history earlier, do Google searches. Look at the clothes they're wearing. Plain, fine malmal. There's a whole, life beyond it. But he's leaning there. These are the few images we have. They don't tell us much about the man.
Which museum are they in now?
This one is in a royal collection of the Jaipur people. The earlier one was at New York. The first one was at
in
Dublin.
Ireland, Dublin.
And if there were more, they are painted afterwards. So there will be more towards the end. But if we quickly go on to the next, and then Raghavji can, all right. We were talking about that long stick. It's a teka. And this is from a book. It's a long coat stick where you put your chin or your arm or you just hold on to it. And this one is gold with enamel. The handle is jade studded with precious stones. For those who think about Jaipur and the Meenakari and the Kundan work and people in Delhi or Mumbai buying polki, Lahore was a big center of enamel workers. And Man Singh was, even then, gathering people. So he brought back a lot of people from here, 5 families, who remain Sikhs, and they are practicing. They speak Rajasthani in their homes, because this is what happens in 500 years, 400 years. And they eat Rajasthani food. They will celebrate all the Sikh festivals. But this is an example of that kind of work. Man Singh also brought back Afghans.
Exquisite, absolutely
It's
beautiful.
exquisite. I wouldn't mind having this. I don't know where it is
And where
now.
is this preserved?
That we do not know, because this was drawn in the 19th century in a book called the Jaipur Album.
Studded with jewels.
Studded with jewels.
Wow.
Studded with Meenakari.
Meenakari.
It's
Inlaid,
actually jewels.
inlaid.
Inlaid, but it is actually a form of jewelry in itself.
So, Rima, tell me this. Man Singh led various crucial campaigns, for Akbar, across regions like Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Punjab, Kashmir, even Kabul. And he annexed Kabul after Mirza Hakim's death in 1585, where he managed to establish peace and control and governed that area. All that showcased his strategic foresight, founding, very strong fortifications in places like Akbarnagar, Rajmahal, etc. But Rajput history, if you were to look at, would probably rate him as a traitor. As somebody who was not honest and fair to the Rajputs, while being fair to Akbar, to whom he owed his loyalty. So how did he manage to reconcile these two roles and yet continue to be liked broadly? I mean, to continue to be a Rajput, to be recognized as a Rajput without being totally ostracized or to be thrown out of favor? Was it because of the influential position that he held? Or was it because he was essentially, and I have a sense while I read your chronicles and understand it, that in his hearts of hearts he was not disloyal to the Rajputs. It was only politically that because of the situation that he was in, because he was Akbar's trusted general, that politically in terms of wars and all that he betrayed them in that modernistic word. But perhaps at that time there was no betrayal. It was just all politics. And you could have Rajput fighting Rajput. You could have Mughal fighting Rajput. So what's your sense of this whole complex situation? What is the truth behind
I
it?
think, Raghav, you've done a brilliant, analysis of what is happening. Look, it's very easy to judge someone. Why did they do this? Why do you do something under pressure? Why do you do something as a thoughtful policy? Why do you do anything? And are you the same person through your life? What is a biographer trying to do? We are trying to get a sense of the person. Acha, let me tell you, by the way, that if you are doing a good biography, you are meant to be neutral. Right? But can we be neutral about anything? Because we are carrying ideas in our own mind. So as you say, what was he? we don't get anything written by Man Singh. What we have are poetries that are, he composed something. He had this court, everyone did at that time, and they wrote about things. We have things about him from his court, which will naturally be Man Charit and stuff like that. Stuff like that meaning Man Singh ke liye Man Charitra, to Man Charit, and other things. The Akbarnama and some of Badawini's writings make clear that they're not very, he's not 100% liked by a lot of Akbar's courtiers. He's not disliked. But the fact that he is this Hindu Rajput at the center of a lot of decision making, he's close to the emperor, and he gets to lead campaigns. And they can't even say, why him, why not me? Because he is a good general. He's a good general because from childhood, like a lot of other Rajputs, he's learned how to use his sword. He was 12 when his grandfather opts to have a matrimonial, but it is actually a military alliance with the Mughals. And looking at it from the 21st century, you know, kyun kara, kya kara? Look at history through the ages. So much earlier, in one of the places around modern-day Jaipur, it's about 100 kilometers, we have a small place called Chatsu. It was once called Chatsu, and then they've changed it in the 20th century. 20th century हम कई नामों को अपने हिसाब से सोचते हैं कि चाटुकार होंगे. उसका अपना अर्थ था Chatsu का. Inscription much earlier than Man Singh's time talks about the local chief that in the service of his Param Bhattarak Maharaj Adhiraj, the imperial Pratihar ruler of Kannauj, this guy, Shankaragana, goes from Chatsu, to the confluence of the sea and the ocean in the God land that ruled by the Palas, that is Bengal, and having fought and defeated the Pal king, Devpal, he washes apni rakt ranjit talwar ko Ganga ke sangam mein, Ganga, yes, he doesn't mention Ganga, Nadi or uske sea ke sangam mein dhoya. So what is happening here? You have a notion of an overlord somewhere else. These are things we kind of try and read into it. And the other bit which comes is this 12-year-old goes with his father, his grandfather, all the various fighting forces. Undino, the fighting force also would mean people who are shoeing the horse for your campaign, who are the lohar who's doing something, your dolchi, everybody. The grandfather has taken a thing of allegiance, a vow of allegiance. So what happens? Do you inherit it? I'm not going to answer on behalf of Man Singh, right? But I want all of us to think. It's so easy to say, main us jagah hota. You know, when you're a kid and you see a film and you say, why are they doing this? Main to ye karu. But what would you do at that point in time? And what would you have the thing to do? So why the decision is taken was probably not in his hands. But like in another thing, when I was doing a book on Dr. Karni Singh of Bikaner, who was our time period, I mean, he lived in the 20th century and was a parliamentarian. He was an Olympian shooter. And his grandfather, the famous Ganga Singh, after whom Ganga Nagar is named, was very much anglicized but still very desi. And he wrote something called the famous minute, what becomes part of the Minto Morley reforms also. He sets up the Narendra, whatever it's called, the Chamber of Princes, Narendra Mandal. And he wrote somewhere in 1917, okay, Ganga Singh also, if you think I'm going too far away, everyone's life is knit together. Ganga Singh in 1917 has his ship stops and he writes this Rome minute. And he says, a Rajput has 3 simultaneous loyalties. It's interesting. One to the land. And when he says land, he means Bharat, India, Jambu Dweep. The other to his kingdom. So he's got a category within a category. In his case, his kingdom is Bikaner. And third,
why Bikaner?
He was from Bikaner. The Ganga Singh was from Bikaner in the 20th century. So his loyalty is to the land of India. He's not ruling over India. But the second is to the land just where he has been made the ruler of by grace of God. That is the kind of, interpretation you have. Somebody becomes a ruler because they are chosen. And the third loyalty is loyalty to the people of that area, but to the vows given by his ancestors to somebody. So, zaban di. And then to break it, you need, it will also help, my just saying it like this, will also help you understand when later on during the Indian freedom struggle, Raghav, when you have the boycotting of foreign goods, and you have the then elite, rise of the middle class, English speaking, trying to say, who am I? Am I Indian? Gandhiji giving away his Western or giving up his Western attire. They're not easy decisions. For us, looking back, why did they not do this? So what was he? What was he? In the case of the Battle of Haldighati.
So there is this thing that you narrate in your book that he, despite defeating the other Rajputs, he gave away and spared the lives of a lot of normally you would eliminate in those days. Those were barbaric days, and you would kill everyone who was defeated. But he spared their lives. So what was this sort of thought that would have gone into his mind that he spared the lives of those who were vanquished? And what would have been the motive? What would have been the impulse, the thought process? Could you figure that out? Why he spared the lives of all of those who were defeated in the Battle of Haldighati?
Let us also see what Akbar is doing. Akbar is quite harsh when it comes to his own family members. He may not kill them because, that is still guna, that's still a pap. But you can kill an enemy, that's a different thing. Mind you, when Hemu was defeated and Akbar was quite young, and the wounded Hemu was brought before him, and Behram Khan, who was the guardian of the young Akbar, said, kill him. He says, nahi, घायल दुश्मन पे अपना मैं हथियार नहीं चलाऊंगा. So Behram Khan does the beheading. But that was not queasiness, that was his ethics coming in. Ethics were, everything is fair in, war. I don't know about love, but in war, certainly everything is fair. But who are the people who you usually spare? Either a very valiant enemy or somebody you're related with. And in the case of Akbar, he didn't want the Turks and the Afghans and the others who could be a potential challenge to thrive. So they could give up their weapons, their lives could be spared. Rajputs, he knew, were a different kettle of fish. So try and get them on your side, because once they give you their word, they would stay true to their, namak khaya type. In the same way, the Rajputs did not try and kill each other. What happens in battle is fair. What happens off the battlefield, you're not meant to kill. And we find that despite all the stories we now have through TV and things about their, what is said about Maharana Pratap said, jao apne phupa ko leke aao kind of things, that actually probably never happened because they were also related. Man Singh, one of the many stepdadis, if there is such a thing as a stepdadi, but dadiyon mein se ek was Maharana Pratap's relation from the same royal family, Raimal's sister, so Pratap's grandmother. They're a generation apart, but so they are related. And what history books cannot focus on, because how much can you put into a child's head? How much can anyone research? Is that Jagmal, the brother who takes away Maharana Pratap's throne but is not able to, who is kind of, again, like a traitor, he eventually dies, but his daughter is then brought up by Maharana Pratap as a princess of Mewar. And one of them, we don't need to go into all the details, but they do have intermarriage with the Amer family also. So they have this complex relationship. And then something, and I will keep it brief there and let you have the next question, something called Deori Band. The doorway, Devli, if you're not crossing it, means you're out of imperial favor. So after Man Singh forbids, this we know, this is the complaint made against Man Singh by Badawi, who is at the battlefield. Abul Fazl was not. Akbar never was, of battlefield of Haldighati. They say he allowed Maharana Pratap to go away. He didn't chase him. And he forbade the army from chasing him. So, and that question remains to this day, was it deliberate? It probably was. The excuse used was, hum Rajput andhere mein war nahi karte. But that war has happened in the past. I mean, even Prithviraj Chauhan, different generation, for so many years, 400 years earlier, 300 years earlier, has made a night attack against another Rajput state at Mount Abu that people know of as a tourist area. So some values you have, but you don't use. But in this case, very definitely, he forbade the army following. Later on, Man Singh, his father's alive, all the various people fighting on behalf of Akbar, who are chasing Pratap, Maharana Pratap and his troops, they never quite managed to stop them. And so the thing has always remained, were they going soft? So much so that there is a period further on, a period of history where Man Singh and his father are told by the local governor chasing Maharana Pratap, I don't want you in my army. And Akbar kind of counters it. He's the emperor, he can do anything, by posting them as subedars to the Punjab. And by then, Akbar has moved from Delhi and Agra, inly Agra, to Lahore. And that's where the new capital is. So actually, you're letting these people who might be traitors to the Mughals closer to you. And that's the stage where Man Singh then becomes governor of various areas. One of the few people who was successful in conquering Afghanistan. So the Afghan issue, when our ambassadors talk about the geopolitics of the area, or when the Americans look at their defeat in that area, or the Russians look back to that period, even the Rambo part, whichever of those films it was.
There were no mujahideens at that time, were
So
there?
they were mujahideens. The local Afghans didn't want to be under anyone. They had their own Kabaili system. And Akbar's half-brother, Mirza Hakim, who had been there, had probably not been a very nice governor. Because all the flack that now Man Singh gets, that he was very strict with the Muslims. But a lot of those Muslims had converted from the further valleys. Some were Afghans who had converted previously. Some, under the very rigid thing of Mirza Hakim, had been forced to convert or be beheaded. But, so they were the mujahideen in that sense. And if the Badshah wants this area subdued, then I shall do it. It wasn't easy. There was snow, there were these narrow passes, they lost a lot of people. Raja Birbal died in one of these many attacks. And, basically one of the Navratans dies there. And Man Singh is able to win over that area. And I don't know, let's have another couple of slides. I don't know what we have there. But, I mean, I do know what we
Play
have
the next
there.
few slides, please.
Just a list of some of the rulers, not emperors. Just to say, Raja Man Singh's name is second from the bottom. Next ले लीजिए कि मुगल उसमें काम करने के बावजूद वो अपने एरिया के राजा रहे या कुंवर
And
या
this is very important because, Rima, this photograph, this picture shows the Govind Dev temple. So Raja Man Singh, despite a Mughal era, despite Akbar's era, constructed these temples.
Yes.
And so he was a true Hindu in that sense, that he did not change his religion.
Correct.
He was not forced to convert, managed to stay on his own. And that shows that he had some character and some credibility that he was able to establish.
Correct, absolutely.
And there was another famous temple,
Next.
I'm told, some other temples also that he built.
So I don't know if the Dakshineshwari temple of Dhaka was originally built by him, but that's a later phase. This is just one of the Battle of Haldighati, but let's go on to the next and come back to, this is the Amer that was built by Man Singh, but let's come back very quickly to the Govind Dev Ji temple part. See, he's brought up,
Slides back, please. Back, please.
he's brought up
Yeah.
in the religion of his parents. And by this time, there is a lot of Krishna Bhakti spreading across northern India, eastern India, southern India. I mean, any part you can think of. His own great-grandmother is given a couple of famous, they were not giving huge statues. They were normally given small wooden or stone statues. One of them is a statue of Sita Ramji, basically of Ram, Bhagwan Ram. And we always add the name of the Shakti before. And the other is the temple he makes. So his ancestor had got the Sitaram thing from someone called Krishnadas, Behari Krishnadas, who was a saint, who gets rid of the local Nag community, who were very strong. They were Shaiv Bhaks. We still have them as a very strong force. Gorakhnath, all of them, down to present day thing, they're powerful, but they leave because the Vaishnavas, and actually the Ramanandis take over. That's another story. I won't go into it. That's why I said there's enough here to keep anyone who thinks what have we missed. But the point is, he remains devoted to his religion and builds temples wherever he can, whether in Sialkot or up in the Nilab fort in what is now, I think, occupied Kashmir. And wherever he goes, he is doing it. He also builds mosques. Well, at least two we know of. He made the famous temple that now everyone knows as the one renovated by Ahilyabai at Gaya. He makes the temple, the Patneshwari temple at Patna. So he's making temples where he goes. But to come back to the Govind Dev Ji temple, what is interesting is, you collect donations very often for some noble cause. And when he is to make this temple, he gets the land from the Badshah, and he says, and the donation. So in an inscription, it says what Akbar has given, Akbar Shah, and what Prince Salim Shah have given. They donate to making this temple. So there is this aspect to him. And what you asked about, he didn't convert. Akbar is also toying himself with religion. He's meeting people from the Jesuits, he's meeting, Tulsidas Ji is of that time period.
Yes, he was a contemporary of Akbar.
Akbar.
And he managed to write, Ramcharitmanas in that
Ramcharitmanas.
era, which shows that how resilient Tulsidas Ji, but
Correct.
also perhaps how forgiving Akbar was that he allowed that to happen.
So Man Singh's son, eldest son, who dies before becoming a ruler, Jagat Singh, was a shagird, he was a disciple of Tulsidas Ji, among other things. So this is a very complex relationship that they have. And in this whole process, when the Sulh-e-Kul is about to be, being considered by Akbar, the Din-e-Ilahi, Man Singh's father, who by then is the Raja, is asked. So Raja Bhagwan Das is very much also in the Mughal court. We only think of a few characters. Now we leave out the subplot. When you see a film, you are concentrating on the hero and the heroine and the villain. But
nowadays you also look at
the side.
At the side, you don't look just at Ranveer Singh. You also look at Akshay Khanna.
Akshay Khanna, exactly. So, but I won't bring in the Akshay Khanna, but the equivalent, Man Singh's father is asked by Akbar, ki, consider this. And that old man kind of says, look, I know what Hindu is, I know what my dharma is, I know what your dharma is, I know the dharmas I've seen around me. What you're talking about makes no sense. I am not changing. Now, can we say such things to figures of authority? Usually. People say it in much more mild words. But he's a blunt soldier. He says, at the most you will kill me. If I'm fated to die, I will die. That they kind of go with that. We can have a couple of pictures and you can maybe talk about
Did
them.
Man Singh's, any of his daughters or anyone get married to Akbar or become part of his harem or any such thing?
So, Man Singh's sister marries Shehzada Salim. She is the mother of Prince Khusro, who almost became the emperor. Jahangir's eldest son, who Jahangir probably hated. Jahangir didn't get on very well with his father, but he seems to have had a soft spot for his first senior-most queen, who was this Rajput princess. She gets titles. And later on, so there are many marriages by this time, even with the Marwar state and others, into the Mughal royal family. And somebody was saying that one of the ladies, a junior member really, of the Mughal family, but an imperial relative, marries Man Singh also. Man Singh had over 20 recorded wives. And this is a power play. This is not just men wanting to have many wives. It's a way of connecting various places. In the case of, because we are running out of time, in the case of going to what is today the Jagannath Puri temple, that had been occupied by the local Pathans of the Odisha area. So he fights there, wins it back, and then having defeated the Raja of Khurda, makes the Raja of Khurda the Raja of Puri, and that descendants of that family are still there. Can we quickly go through some of the images while you decide what we are... So Haldi Ghati. Ye Amer was made during Man Singh's time. The point to remember is, next bhi le lijiye. This is a view of the fort that is being made. This
Such
was
an
not...
extensive fort.
Correct. And we'll show you Rohtas in a minute. He doesn't live here very much. See, he goes away to fight. Then he comes back. When does he come back? When his father is dead, he needs to come for his Raj Tilak. So he comes back. Towards the end of his life, he is posted to the south, to what is now Achalpur near Nagpur, then called Ilichpur, क्योंकि राजा इली था. हम नाम बदल देते हैं. हम सोचते हैं पता नहीं कौन विदेशी होगा, but राजा इली था. And he dies there. But during that brief time, he starts more activities of building. So next ले लीजिए. Amer, this is the part that was built by him. Later, descendants built other areas. Next ले लीजिए please. More of Amer, but next please. Yes, we need to open it for questions, so keep going. Slides और दिखा दीजिए. This is the Galta Valley. While we are showing, come to the next. One of the images जो मैंने कहा, ये मान मंदिर वाराणसी में, जो मान मंदिर पे जो जंतर मंतर है, that was made by Man Singh's great grandson, Raja Jai Singh. Next ले लीजिए. This is Govind Dev Ji temple again. And next, Jagat Shironami's eldest son dies. He brings a different style of architecture in. Next, and I want to tell you the story of this while we are about. Akbar commissioned translations from Sanskrit into Farsi of well-known Indian stories. So one book which is known as the Razmnama, uski 4 copies bani thi. One has recently been published, it's available, and that's the collection of the Birla family. But this is from something that is now not available, it's under Supreme Court thing. But it is the story of Arjun looking at the water and shooting at the eye of the fish. So again, Badayuni complained when this was happening, when this translation project starts. He says, why is he doing all these things for these people? You know, like he doesn't, he says kafir, mujhe bhi kafir bana rahe hain by my, you know, this good man not. Anyway, next. Rohtas in Bihar. So this architecture goes there, and next, couple from Rohtas. अब ये हालात हैं यहाँ के, तो यहाँ के क्या हर monument के, next please. Next. And next. Very quickly, this is the mosque he makes. When he gets posted, we won't go into the chronology. Just keep, like in somebody's life when they're telling you a story. He gets posted as governor of Bihar, and then of Bengal, which means with Bengal was the Subedari of Odisha. And he had found that in this area, the older capital was not useful anymore from the point of view of strategy, from the point of view where the river went. So he finds a new place, which is in the Santhal Pahadia hills, Raj Mahal. It was known as Raj Mahal Pahadia. The Daniels made a collection of paintings there. But this is one of the places he built. Shah Shuja, if you have been reading, you heard William Dalrymple earlier today, but when he talks about Shah Shuja's time and the death and everything, Shuja makes Raj Mahal his capital for a while, then he escapes towards Burma, Myanmar, and dies there. So, you know, that it's all connected, and we are going to open it for questions, but let's have another couple of slides as we go. So again, this, not contemporary, but a larger than life figure. Next please. Fatafat. Not contemporary. This is contemporary. I think we are almost through. Agla le lijiye. I think just for half a second. Eventually, he supports the wrong person. He doesn't support his brother-in-law, also his nephew, that is Jahangir. No, his cousin. Jahangir is also his cousin because aunt ne shadi ki hai. And he gets posted to Achalpur or Ilichpur, which is where he dies. This is where he was cremated. Chota sa mandir hai. Next.
But cremated as per Hindu rites.
He remained a Hindu. Yeah. And the next. And this is his Chhatri at Amer, near where he was. And while we are next, just open it for questions while they're raising their hands. Yeah. One of the statues of Jaipur, one of the images of Jaipur of Sita Ramji, used to go with the armies to every battle. The Rath would go. And it does even today when we have Tej and any of the festivals, the Savari comes out, the chariot comes out from the city palace. So the saying says, Gola khave Sita Ramji, Gola meaning top ka gola. Gola khave Sita Ramji, Ladu khave Govind Dev Ji. Because Govind Dev Ji is happily in our temple, getting the bhog. And Sita Ramji most of the year is in a much smaller shrine. He does go out, but not to face Golas, we hope, ever again. Because I think that's where Man Singh would have wanted to be. If the kingdom was threatened, they would want to be out there. So let's hope we never need to use.
So this young lady here, please tell your name and ask the question.
Hello everybody, my name is Rima. I'm one of the influencers of BLF and also I'm studying psychology and less of interest in history, yet I'm a student of economics doing my PhD in economics. I would want to ask a modern question to it, that when you were studying Man Singh, what were the two great history lessons that you feel that, that should be taken from the history and can be used in the present?
So I don't know what are, it's very, can you boil down anyone's life to two things is something that I have not
It
learned.
is just because
I have
of the
not
time.
learned to do. No, it's a good question. It is a very good question. I think the point about loyalty that you brought out, who are you loyal to?
Right.
So the main thing is, can you be true to yourself?
Right.
In which case, any action you take is a valid action.
Right.
All those Hindi films which would say, agar tum apne aapko aine mein nazar mila sakte ho, I think that would be a takeaway. What does loyalty mean? But also, because they are on the battlefield, what does loyalty mean when it comes to something in battle? So there's a small story of a much younger Man Singh, and Akbar is the emperor, and Akbar sees some Rajputs, and he says, what are you doing? They say, we are playing this game. It's like Russian roulette, where instead of shooting with a gun to see who gets killed, they had a spear or a barcha in a wall, and they would run full speed at it, particularly when they were drunk, and whoever survived. So the emperor said, I will do this, and they tried to stop him. He says, hum badshah hain. Maybe he had a little too much. But anyway, he ran at it. So Man Singh blocks him. And you saw the various images, but he was well built enough. And the Badshah says, don't you know I'm the Badshah? He says, it's because you're the Badshah. I'm not letting you do this. So to have that logical head, to have that
loyalty.
clear mind. Loyalty, but a clear mind.
Right.
What am I doing? Why am I doing it?
Right.
I'm not saying he's perfect. His own brother seems to have mysteriously died. Not the one who was in the movies, but his brother Madho Singh, who has his own little estate. And the descendants are alive today, but we don't know whether they were at the end of it still brothers
Or not.
or like the TV show Versailles, where the younger brother says to Louis, the whichever, that you think being king is difficult, try being a king's younger brother.
Yeah.
Because everyone looks at you, isko to takhat chahiye.
That's why Prince Harry renounced everything and
My question is more from the point of view of a career counselor, so therefore I asked you.
do we have another question?
I hope you got something out of the answer.
We have a question, right? I think.
Good afternoon, this is Yash Dikshit. I wanted to ask, was Raja Man Singh more of a Vaishnav or a Shakta?
That's easy. He was a Vaishnav, but they also, because the family, so the Ambikeshwar for Amer, now it's just Amer, but it used to be Amber, so Amba ka sound aata hai, is from Ambika Mata, but it's also from Ambikeshwar. Both things. So what they do is, it's very practical. In the Navratras, the sacrifice would be done. He was in Bengal, he would have done all of those. What are you at heart is your personal thing. No? And therefore, if you see not the Chhatri, but the Samadhi at Ilichpur, you saw the Nandi, which means the temple is of a Shiv temple. That small, it's not even as high as this table perhaps. But that's what remains of a man at the end of it all. Thank you, Yash.
We have one more question. We'll make it the last question because we have to start our next session. Can we give her the mic, please?
Use the mic. Use the mic because then you get recorded. Sorry, we say that in last session. I said it to
Thank you
earlier.
so much. Ma'am, I'm Princy Pehlwani, currently a student in third year. And I love to read about politics in general. So a little question from that perspective. Is the recent politicization to the history making us ignore the valor of a lot of heroes in the history right now? Or is it making us come closer to the roots of our history?
See, that's a very good question. When we look at somebody, can we today be impartial? We were discussing yesterday in another session that in order to know yourself, you also need to know your enemy. But actually, who is your enemy? Right? So, how are we looking at the figures from the past? Are we only trying to see them from our perspective and from a more narrow perspective than anybody's life can be? You're in your third year, but you're no longer what you were in third grade, you know, or when you were 13, for that matter. So like you change, your thoughts continue to evolve. The person you are, you become a real person. But if you, like, I recall something, I took away a eraser from somebody's school box and I felt very bad about it, obviously didn't tell anyone, and went and replaced it. Now, that sort of thing happens to everyone, but that's minor. If you've actually done something which involved giving a judgment that led to death, like the famous story of Kannagi and the Shilabadikaram of South India, where 49 Nadus sank in the long ago Sangam age because a king was too hasty in his judgment. That king, of course, dies in the drowning. But, you know, something like that, if you wiped out, if you caused massive killing, genocide, if you pressed a button, that guilt never goes away. So how are we looking at our past? Only by what others say, only by what WhatsApp says, only by others saying he's good or bad? Can we look for the shades of grey? Again, not to excuse them, but to understand what goes on in their mind. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Rima ji, for those lovely answers and for this great book. I'm sure history students would love to read it.
I'm going to give this to you to read. I'll sign it off stage.
Rima ji, is this available at the bookstall?
Yes, it is.
Please go and buy this book, and also your passionate discourse, I think, has inspired a lot of people to go buy this book. Thank you so much. And I would request former Union Minister, Mr. K.J. Alphonse, to come on the stage and felicitate our speaker, Dr. Rima Hooja, with the BLF memento. The memento is created by Padma Shri Gond artist Durga Bai Vyamji, and it's titled Little Gorlaya.
This one I'm going to keep and not give back. Because you give me. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. We'll save time by taking this. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rima Hooja and Mr. Raghav Chandra.